This video contains graphic content of real events and may be upsetting to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. Wake up in the morning, you have no idea what the future holds or what your day will bring. For some, it might be an extraordinary day filled with joy, laughter, and hope. But on Saturday, November 23rd, 2013, at approximately 2:40 p.m., it brought pain, sorrow, and anguish to one of our local radio DJs, Marvin Craige, Scrappy Goodwin, and his entire family. Listen to a mother's cry. Nestled in the Caribbean Sea are the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island, and St. Croix, the largest of these four beautiful islands. St. Croix's nickname is Twin City for its two towns. Christiansted on the northeast part of the island, and Frederiksted on the western end. Oh, how times have changed. Who can remember the days when we said had to lock our door? We all live as one family. As this true story unfolds, you will see the hands of the Almighty God in every detail. Who can doubt the existence of the Creator? He has plans and a purpose for our lives. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Let's learn to love and not to hate, uplift and not pull one another down. Indeed, this story is a miracle. If you believe in the Almighty, today just might be a day for your miracle.
Marvin Craige Goodwin, also known as Scrappy, was born on the island of St. Croix and raised in Mount Bijou. We all know that as Frangipani. Marvin and his older siblings had a modest life. Traditional island actions, you know, the street lights come on, mommy sang at the porch, come inside, those kind of things. Come.
I could ride a bike, please.
No, they say my bike.
Give me a ride,
No, me too, please. No, do they say my bike?
Yeah, come back this way.
Hey! Are you come? Come inside!
Family ties, good food, home cooking. But with all of that, what would make a seemingly close friendship turn on you? Listen, life is short and can quickly be taken away from you.
What's up? Alright. Yeah. Alright. Yeah.
And who you on the phone with? Who you on the phone with? Who you talking to? This is who you're talking to? I actually don't listening to your conversation. This is who you talking to about you gonna get married to she? Yes or no? I don't hear you all this time. And this is what you gonna do to me? We gonna do using me or something? Don't worry, I gonna fix you. I can fix you good.
Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorned.
You think he gonna be using me? You won't be using me, not me. And I want to turn around and marry his things, eh, woman? Not me. But you gonna use me like that there. Hey babe, where you at? Meet me down by the bridge now. Alright, bye.
Remember, be careful of the company, the friendship, and even the romance you keep. They may have their own selfish desires.
As I record this, in the last 24 hours, there have been 5 individuals who have been shot in St. Croix, one of which I knew personally. She was innocently killed in the path of random crossfire. I'm Dr. Vanessa Batiste, and I'm a licensed psychologist born and raised here in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Grief and post-traumatic stress disorder are 2 of the most common mental states that a mother experiences after losing her child to gun violence. There was a study published in 2014 by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, and that study indicated that there are specific parts of the brain that are significantly impacted when a mother loses her child to gun violence and experiences that level of grief and post-traumatic stress. Some of these parts of the brain range from the anterior cingulate cortex to the posterior cingulate cortex, the prefrontal cortex, the insular, and the amygdala. All of these parts of the brain, once activated by that level of grief and emotional, psychological distress, that post-traumatic stress can significantly cause emotional impact. Some of that emotional impact can lead to depressive symptoms like insomnia, hopelessness, and even suicide ideation. Anxiety symptoms like loss of concentration, fear of the future, and possible panic attacks. These are just some of the symptoms that mothers who experience losing their children to gun violence may go through. These are just some of the experiences that occurred psychologically, neurologically, and emotionally when a mother experiences losing her child to gun violence.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Hodge, better known in the community as Aisha. It is not easy when you have to get a news that you lose a loved one. On January 5th, 1999, I was at work at the United States Post Office delivering mail when I got a phone call from my supervisor asking me to return to the office. So as I returned to the office, my supervisor let me to know that my son has been shot. So I went to the hospital, and as I reached to the hospital, I saw my son lying down with tube in his nose and his mouth. And when I look at his head, I see his brains coming through his head, bubbling. A couple hours afterward, my son was pronounced dead. "15 years after, seeing all the parents and mothers, seeing the son on the ground, and they cry, holding the stomach, holding the head, asking why they killed her son, I decided to make a march and a rally. Name our loved ones alive in our heart. What a heartful feeling that was to me as a mother. Who feels it? Experience it.
On July 10th, 2016, I received a phone call that changed my life forever. I received a phone call that my 18-year-old son, Yafari Bradhouse, was shot. Impossible, that's what I said. Because I know I had just hung up the phone from speaking to Yafari like 10 minutes ago, telling him, hurry, come back home, remember I have your son Sean here. Sean was sleeping. Sean was just like about 5 months old. Phone calls keep coming in. Yafari was definitely shot. I ran to my daughter's room and I woke her up. She said, no, mommy, I just spoke to him. So she picked up her phone and she started to call his phone. He wasn't answering. So I told her, no, let's leave. On our way up to try to get to the scene, we got a phone call from his father saying, go straight to the hospital. So all the way up, I was praying, God, whatever it is, just have mercy on me, have mercy on him, don't take him away from me. My doctor said, mommy, remain calm. Just keep praying and remain calm. She said, don't leave no space for the enemy to see that you're scared and allow him to come in. And my mother, I was panicking, I was crying, I was screaming. I got to the hospital, stayed there for about 3-4 hours before I was told my son was gone. I didn't get to see him. I didn't know if they had the right child. Although his dad identified him at the lagoon on the scene and said yes, me being his mother, I still wanted to see for myself that yes, this is my child. I was disappointed with God because I was in my room watching Jimmy Swagger like I do every Sunday evening, and I was giving him praise to receive a phone call that my son has just been shot. So it's like, how can I be here worshiping you, praising you, asking you to cover my children, and then I get that phone call? So I was assuming maybe it was in his foot or in his hand, because I know Yafari was not a person to be out there getting in trouble. So I know it had to be somebody just attempted to harm him, because if Yafari had $20 in his pocket, he was rich. He didn't care about jewelry and money, and he was just a plain, simple child. Like, those things did not bother him. Just give him food and maybe a vehicle to drive, a sneakers on his foot and a cap on his head, and he was good to go. It's now 4 years later, and it feels like it just happened still. Every time I hear a new mother is crying for their child, it's like, how do you expect to get over this situation when it's something that's constantly happening and it's like it's okay now? It's a norm. It's people telling you, Yafari he was crying for you. He was begging people to call my mother. One of his brother friends came to me and he said, mommy, yes. He said, Yafari, he was crying. He was begging people to call me. Like, call my mother. I need my mother. It could have been he wanted me to pray him through, hold his hands. I know Yafari was a very emotional person. So I know he would probably wanted to tell me he loved me, or tell me take care of his children, or tell me, mommy, I didn't have anything to do with this. I know my child. Like, I know he wouldn't want to die and leave me thinking like he did something wrong. And to see that all I ever asked for was for God to cover my children. I even said, God, when they make 18 and they could help each other, if you're ready, take me. Just take me. I'm good with it. But when you get them kind of phone calls that rip your whole soul out, like, it just makes you feel hollow. Your appetite change, your sleep pattern change, you don't want to be around people, you isolate yourself, you find excuses when somebody invite you out or invite you, because you just don't want to be around nobody, because it's like, if I can't trust God, how am I supposed to trust a human being? If God could just show me a sign as to what was he trying to tell me, what he wanted to tell me, then I think I'd be okay. I don't know, and that is going to bother me for the rest of my life.
That is so painful. A decorated tombstone or beautiful flowers covering the gravesite are great gestures to show you cared, but that would never bring back your loved ones. purchase a gun for me, man. You want something, man? You can't purchase a gun for me? No.
I was in Miami, Florida. I normally communicate with him since he's here running the operation while I was gone. So I called Craig about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon to find out if the mails came in. He said, "No, Daddy, I don't know. I just came because I was playing some music last night. I was tired, so I came in a little late." And we leave it at that. He said to me, he's doing a job for legal services. He promised them on Monday, so he did come in to try to get that done.
According to several neighbors around the ABS printing shop, they heard the first gunshot. Minutes later, they heard 2 additional rounds. Craig Jordan, the suspect in this matter, could not find the first shell casing, so he then went into the darkroom and discharged 2 additional rounds, took one of the shell casings and laid it next to Scrappy. The other one went into his pocket.
That same day, I was on my way to the airport to come home when I received a call from someone who asked me if I'm at the office. I said, "No, I'm in Miami, Florida." And the person hung up. I didn't know who it was, and I was concerned with the way they asked me if I was at the office, and I said, "No, I'm in Miami." Immediately, I called Sandy and asked her to go to the office and see what's going on, because something is wrong there. And that's when she called me back and told me Craig got shot.
Good day all, my name is Victor Peterson. I've been a firefighter / EMT for about 13 years of my life. It is something that I'm proud about. It is something that I'm excited about and expect to do my best at.
Good day, my name is firefighter EMT Melissa Simmons. I'm serving at C Company. I've been serving for the last 13 years. I remember clearly the day we got the phone call from dispatch and how we responded. It was one of my worst calls ever. From the time we heard it was a gunshot victim.
When we heard that, of course, my energy level went up. I got anxious. Along with my partner, myself, Melissa Shang, we jumped on this truck, Unit 74, and proceeded to that scene, which is not that far away, it's about a mile away. When we got into the business place, we were met by the same individual that may have committed the act. There was police on the scene, I asked them to remove the individual. Walked into the office where a young black male was laying down fighting for his life on that day.
When we got into ABS printing, this is now somebody I realized that I went to school with, a classmate to Central High School, and also a teammate for basketball. We played basketball together, and it just froze me for a second. I had to regain my composure because he seemed lifeless at the time. When we got down and began treatment, the first thing we applied pressure to make sure he wouldn't bleed out anymore, and there we found he still had a heartbeat.
We expedited the process. At that point, EMS came on scene. We felt relieved, I'll be honest with you. We felt relieved that we had the backup to support this life. We relayed information that we had gathered at that point, his blood pressure, his vitals, and one of the EMTs I remember was Marlon, and he came in with his backboard, and we log rolled the patient on the backboard, placed him, stabilized him, fastened him to it, put him on a stretcher, and we expeditiously moved him into the ambulance so we could transport him to the Wangui General Hospital.
And we made sure at no point we lost any signs with him. He was mumbling slightly, so we knew that something good would happen. He never gave up, and that gave us hope up until this day.
The amazing thing that took place in this traumatic event in this young man's life, to me, was his response, his need to live, his purpose to live. It had to be God working on this young man. We communicated with him. When we spoke to him and we questioned him and we squeezed his hand, he was responding. He was responding with moans. And I was impressed. I was impressed with the strength of this young man. Come to find out, he was DJ Scrappy, somebody that has been popular on the radio, loved by a lot of people. I mean, it was the worst day of his life, but God was there for him.
When we were coming out of the hospital to make exit to get back to our station, that is where I saw Mrs. Goodwin walking the streets of the hospital, where it seems to be that she had to be praising God. And I've never seen anything like that, but I knew that Scrappy would come through them because of the faith of his mom and his family. And I'm so glad every time I see him is the greatest blessing that I could receive, just knowing that I gave a classmate and a teammate an extra chance to live.
After he shot his friend in the head in cold blood, he never called 911 until almost 2 hours later. With friends like these, who needs enemies?
See what you're going to do? Squeeze it tight. Tight, tight, tight. Tight as you can squeeze it. Squeeze it tight. Tight, 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 tight.
I was 8 years old when the incident happened, and I seen an angel flying over my uncle's hospital bed. And I told my family everything will be okay because he's in God's hands.
When the spirit is sensitive, you can hear the voice of God because God truly speaks to you in that time. Pay close attention to what he is saying.
I remember it was on the 23rd of November 2013.
I was having a conversation with Naomi Goodwin, and while we were having the conversation, I heard in my spirit to tell her something gonna happen sooner than she think. And she asked me, what do you mean, somebody gonna die? I said, I don't know, but the Lord said to tell you, to tell your husband Bevan Goodwin not to get involved because he got this. And I remember about 20 minutes later she called back and she said, son, I'm coming and get you. When I got to the hospital, his mom was in the parking lot praising and worshiping God, and I remember telling her, God said he got this. It's amazing how God speaks to us. We just have to listen.
On that Saturday afternoon, I was at church practicing with the youths of the church. Sandy was there with me. Sandy is my sister, who is married to Scrappy's dad. She got a call from Inez, who is a police officer who she knows, and he told her that there was a shooting in the ABS printing area if everything was okay. She said she don't know, but she knew that Scrappy was supposed to be at the printery doing some work, so she decided to leave and check it out. Once I got to the printery, there were a lot of police officers outside and inside where my sister Sandy was. I waited outside for her. When she came outside, we left to go to the hospital. She told me they were talking to her, and one of the police officers told her that she could go ahead and clean the blood up from on the floor. While we was on the way to the hospital, I called my brother Ali and I asked him for Beveron's number. Beveron is one of Scrappy's brother. He was the only one I knew how to get in contact with at the time, so he called him. He didn't get him because he was at Canigata Ballpark playing ball. I told him what happened, and it was important that, we got in touch with him so that he could meet us at the hospital. Once we got to the hospital, there were a lot of police officers around. I saw Victor Peterson, who is a fireman. He was the first EMT on scene of the shooting. I asked him what he thought of what he saw. He said, well, I can't give you anything concrete, but the prognosis looked good because he was breathing when we got there. I told him, well, that was good news and it seems positive. All the family members started coming to the hospital. I offered, my assistance to the family any way that I can, to Beveron, to Harella, the mom, and to everybody else that came. One thing of note that really gave me a sense of calm was seeing Harella, the mom, walking around the parking lot of the hospital just praying and thanking God for his healing.
While in Miami, I received a call to let me know not to come home because they're gonna fly Craig to Miami Jackson Memorial to get help.
Although it is very painful for a mother to experience the loss of a child through gun violence, fathers equally feel the pain, along with other close members. God was truly in the details of this miracle.
My goodness, look at what the world has come to. I remember the days when I was a little girl I'm 82 years old now, and at that time when I was little, my parents could go to town, go any place, and leave the door open. Neighbors' door open. Sometimes people just jump on the bus to go where they're going and come right back. So much hatred and shooting and killing that is going on. You never heard the word gun and shoot, and it is a sign of the coming of the Lord.
Some people may feel that only mothers cry out when it comes to gun violence, but the entire family circle cries out when it comes to gun violence, because it creates a trickle-down effect on everyone. Me being a victim of gun violence did a lot to my family, did a lot to myself, did a lot to my well-being. And then I also had a family member, my son, who was a victim of also gun violence. I had close friends who were victim of gun violence. Myself, it was very difficult on my mother and my siblings, and my dad, and also my children. And then my son became a victim of gun violence, and that was very hard on me. And so fathers cry out, and also mothers cry out. One of the things that I think that we have seems to forget when it comes to gun violence is when a child loses their father to gun violence, and every year we celebrate that fallen soldiers because we call the fathers that pass on, but we forget about the children who remain here, who are emotionally distracted from what happened. So definitely that's something that we need to pay attention to, our children who are here fatherless. Because what would have happened if I got killed, when I got shot from gun violence? What would have happened if my son died when it comes to gun violence? What would happen with our children? That is a factor that we haven't really paid attention to, and we need to look into it. As a community, it's not only the perspective of just solving the crime, but also being there and being supportive for those who have suffered from gun violence. And we have to try our best, to put a stop to it. It's just too much, and it keeps going on and on and on and on. And we are a very, very small community. We don't make guns here. We don't manufacture guns here. We don't manufacture gun parts here. But they're here. We manufacture musicians and artists and doctors and lawyers and teachers. Good people in our community, good farmers. So therefore, that is what we need to have in our community. We don't manufacture guns, so we shouldn't be having so much victims of gun violence. So to anybody out there that have suffered from gun violence, my heart and prayers goes out to you and the entire family.
As families would grieve, did anyone stop to think of those innocent children that are left behind without their fathers or mothers?
5 years ago, I remember when my mom had told me that my dad had his incident. When she first got the call, she started crying and she told my brother about it. And then when I woke up the next morning, I got called back into her bedroom. She said to lay down, and then I laid down, and then she told me what had happened. I felt really broken, felt sad, because I was like, what if I lose him? What if he doesn't survive after what happened? After she had told me, we planned a trip to go to Florida, and when we were driving down, it was a long car ride, but it had me thinking the whole way down there, and I was thinking how I wanted to see him so badly, and it was really tough at the time because I still had to go to school, and I would be all by myself because I didn't want to talk to anyone at the time, because it's just sad, because it's just stuck in my brain the whole entire time to think, what if I lose him, or all that. And it's just so much stress to add on you. And it's just awful for an 8-year-old to go through that. Like, there's no other 8-year-old that should be going through that type of stuff.
In these documents that I have available to me, these were written by the police department themselves.
On November 23, 2013, while on patrol, Anselmo D. Marshall Command units were notified of a male individual shot in the head in the vicinity of ABS Printing Shop in Christiansted. Upon our arrival at the ABS Printing Shop, I observed a male individual who I recognized by the name Kirk, waving us into the printing shop. My partner, Police Officer C. Cyril, and I went into the shop, and I heard someone on the back of the printing shop. Upon entering a second door, I observed the male individual, Kirk, that was waving us outside, straddle on top of another male individual, pushing on his chest with both hands. The male individual, Kirk, said, "I was cleaning the gun and I forgot a round." I observed a black male individual unresponsive on the floor with bubbles of blood on the right side of the head and a pool of blood on the left side of the head. The male individual's head was facing east with both hands flat on the ground and his legs facing west. A request for the ambulance was made via the 911 emergency call center.
This young man, after the shooting, he drove to hide the gun and drove back to the office here, which is approximately 45 minutes to do that. Then went to the police station and tell them he was cleaning a gun and he shot his friend.
Mr. Dennis will demonstrate some safety measures and the steps for cleaning a firearm.
The first thing you have to do is clear the magazine, right? Store your magazine away from you, okay? Rock the slide several times to ensure that there ain't no bullets inside of the chamber. Inspect the chamber to make sure that there is no bullets there. You want to rock your slide back and open the action of the gun, okay? This is a Glock. So these little tabs here, you want to pull them down equally on the other side. On both sides. Right here and right here. You want to pull them down equally on both sides. You release the slide and you slightly pull on the trigger. The slide is going forward and you feed it off. When you're cleaning your firearm, right? Some people might carry a firearm with a bullet inserted. They come and they hit the magazine, the mag release. They take out the magazine. There's still a bullet here in this chamber. So you have to rock back the slide, make sure it lock back, and the bullet fall out. Now, remember, when you pull these two clips and you pull back the trigger, the slide is going to fall off, okay? So you have to make sure that your chamber is clear at all times. Rock back your slide and you do a visual inspection on it to make sure that there is nothing inside of the gun. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction, away from harming anybody, going through a wall, anything of that sort, before you remove your slide. Because you have to apply pressure on the trigger for the slide to come forward, okay? You remove your rod, take the barrel out, clean the barrel, clean up your slide, take some lubricant, your cleaner, clean everything up. Insert your barrel back in the slide, put back in your spring, bring it back, check, triple check, quadruple check, 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 check. Being safe is better than being sorry, right?
Check, double check, triple check, and quadruple check. Check, check, check. When these precautions are taken while cleaning your firearm, how could you accidentally shoot your friend? Folks should be the judge and jury in this matter.